Welcome to the Say Yes Movement podcast with Heather and John, where we help you with your professional and personal growth, helping you say yes to all the scary stuff. Hey, Heather, how's it going?
It's going good. It's Monday. It's the day of the week that, everything should be just starting. And I'll tell you, I am not on fire yet, John. I need some help with my energy.
All
Do you,
right.
do
I
you, do
love
you
it.
have any
Listen,
tips for that?
yeah, no, definitely. I have been, I've done my workout this morning. One of the things I've committed to over the last month is just doing a little bit of yoga every day. And
Ooh,
no, I'm telling you, it's no easy task. But today's yoga was terrific because it was restorative yoga, which means you pretty
okay.
much lie on your back and you just like do movements, but you're lying on your back while you're doing them. So it was a great way to kick off. A great way to kick off the Monday and just to just get some movement in. One of the things, this already, I'm passionate about is just 30 minutes of movement daily can change your life, right? So I got onto the bike this morning. I did a little bit of bike riding and then I did my restorative yoga. And yes, my energy is here, but it's grounded, right? You know how sometimes when you get energy,
Ooh.
it's like, all over the place. My energy is like, I'm good. I'm happy. Like I'm present. So yeah, no, I got a couple of tips to raise up the raise the roof, as they were to say. And part of it is, just get into moving your body, right?
Yeah.
Like get into a power pose, get into, a strong, a winning pose, something that just activates you, right? Like one of the things I learned from Tony Robbins years ago is you connect your physiology and your psychology together. So if you're feeling like, move your body, because if you're just sitting, there's not a lot of energy there, so you can like just rock it out. There's a bunch of different things that you can do. What do you need help with, Heather? I'm here for
Well, here's the thing, and the awareness is so clear to me, but it's, I still have to live through the reminders. Two things create our energy: sleep and food. And if
you.
you're, I think yesterday was the first day that I didn't take a little baby nap in the afternoon from the jet lag, and it was a tough day. Like I had to force myself through it, and then I had our after Thanksgiving, because I was away for Thanksgiving. And so I had some turkey, and I love turkey, but of course turkey has all of those chemicals in it that, make you want to sleep. So, it was a tough day. And of course, when you're eating turkey, you overeat. So those two things is what I chose to do yesterday. And they have an effect on my energy this morning. I can feel it. I can feel that I'm just pulling myself along a little bit harder than I need to. And I love your idea of just get some movement and just,
Mhm.
restorative yoga is a commitment to yourself as well. And oftentimes we're like, oh, I'm not running on the treadmill. I'm not lifting weights. And so I'm just not going to work out. Well, actually meditation, restorative yoga, these types of things are going to help with your energy and your mindset. So, just because we teach this stuff, John, doesn't mean that we live it every day. And sometimes turkey gets in the way of feeling your best version of yourself. Of course, it's turkey plus dessert plus all the other good stuff that comes with
Yeah.
turkey.
No, this is a great reminder because we're coming up to the holidays, right? So now as we go into American Thanksgiving, which pretty much kicks off the Christmas season here in North America, it's all about food, right? It's all about getting together, having dinners, having, gatherings and the food. Like you're right, a big part of it, is making sure you get enough sleep. Listen, I'm with you. Like I felt like that yesterday too, and I didn't have any turkey. I just like the energy. But I did, this is bad. So I'll share this with the world. But when I watch a TV show, I really get into it. And you and I, we talked a little bit about this on Friday, was Ted Lasso. So I got to the end of Ted Lasso, and can I tell you, it's a tearjerker. Like
Oh,
bring out the tissues, right? Like you're gonna feel the like I've never missed a TV show the way I've missed the ending of Ted Lasso, which is kind of weird. I think the last time was when Cheers ended way back in the 90s. It's like you feel sad, like it's done, right? Like we were
yeah.
at the end of it. But what I loved about it is, in the show itself, it actually addresses a lot of issues, mental health issues, the way we interact with each other, the way we respect each other. And what I loved about the show is the way he brought the team together. Now, if you haven't seen the show,
Mm,
I invite you to go watch it. But as you get into the second, into the third season, it's all about team, right? He sacrifices himself, and he actually gets into a place of gratitude and forgiveness, which
mm. Wow, leadership
wow.
lessons all around. I've only watched 2 episodes. It was free on the plane. I don't have Apple TV, which is where it's streaming, but maybe I'll get it because it was so good. I was hooked by 2 and you're right. Here is a gentleman that was set up to fail. And how often do us as humans feel
Mm,
that we're set up to fail? And yet he went at it by bringing the team together. And this is only the first 2 episodes that I've seen, and I've
yeah.
already seen that this is his leadership style. And so, think about what is your personal leadership style? And could you actually bring a team together to do what seems impossible? Would your leadership style get you through that? And what about your leadership style would be your success pattern? This is a question that many leaders do not know their personal answer to. And it actually means that they cannot successfully repeat patterns because they don't know which patterns are working. So, looking at your own leadership patterns, what you stand for, how your values show up, is a huge part of being a strong, self aware, self led leader.
Yeah. Well, you know what was really interesting? I don't know if you got to this part, so I apologize. I don't want to be spoiling it.
Spoiler alerts.
Yeah, yeah. So he's got a word. Do you remember the word that he used
No,
when he
wasn't
met
there
the
yet.
team for the okay? So maybe it's in the
Oh,
third
yes, yes,
episode.
yes, yes, I do. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes, right. So that word became the foundation, and I think about it, and what that's reminding me of is the words that we set out for ourselves at the beginning of the year.
Mm.
Mm,
And I don't think it's a
right?
spoiler. I think we can actually share the word because
Okay.
he writes it on like a piece of paper. It's just,
A yellow
like
Bristol board, yeah.
it's really as easy and as kindergartenish as it can get. And then he uses, masking tape to put it up, or maybe it was athletic tape, I'm not sure, to put it up on the wall. But the word is believe. Believe.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
if that is the foundation now for so much more to happen, John, I can completely see that he activated that lexicon from the first day that he was with the team. The team didn't know what it meant yet. They didn't know what his values were, but he put it out there for display to say, and he said, I'm going to change this locker room up. He didn't mean by putting one piece of paper and one word up. He meant the feeling. He meant the expectations. He meant how people are going to work together in that building, in that room. When you walk into that locker room, you are part of the team. You're not an individual anymore. And so that one word, even though I only saw when he put it up on the wall, I can see how it creates a community. It creates a culture. It creates an expectation of what to think and what to say and what to do. And that is a leadership style that all of us can learn from.
Yeah, no, and I'm wondering how many of us have that word inside of our own departments, inside of our own organizations. Do we have a word that we stand behind? And no matter
Mm,
what happens, do we keep going back to it even when it's good? We believe. When it's bad, we believe. Like it's just a word that's there to anchor you in a way of being. And
mm,
you're right. One of the things that I loved about this particular show was he was able to make those shifts and transformations in people through this word of belief. Because at the beginning,
mm.
nobody believed, right? Like
Wow.
there was a word that they called them. I'm not going to share it here, but there was an English word that they called them. And despite that, he still believed, right? And everybody, you're right. And how many times, listen, in my career, I saw it, right? Like I got into a position where people positioned me to fail, right? People positioned me to, like, I hate to say this, but I was being sabotaged at every corner. But,
Mm,
just like Ted, I held on to the belief that I could do this. I held on to the belief that we could do better, that we can actually excel. And it took me 3 months to turn this team around. I kind of felt
mm-hmm.
like Ted Lasso for a minute, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when I stepped into this, my first management role, and it was like nobody believed that I could actually do this. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, so how do you gotta move, you gotta be steady with, your conviction that it's going to get done and that you can make things better. And it was all about bringing the team together. And this is what I loved
Team
about the
together.
show. And because that's what it all comes down to, because we don't do this on our own. I don't,
No.
many leaders out there that think, you're the captain of the ship, but you're not the one, leading everything on the ship. It's the team that helps you get to the destination.
Well, and the team is watching you, right? So they're looking for cracks. They're looking for that moment where, well, if he doesn't believe or if she doesn't believe, then I'm not going to believe either. But if you are so consistent and so on track all the time for your belief system, then they're going to start to wonder, what am I missing? What does that person know that I don't know? And they'll start to see the cracks in their own belief systems. I have a similar example, John, to you, where someone gave me a team that was failing and it was sort of a lost cause, and they said, do what you will with it, but we don't know if this is viable anymore. And I thought, well, good Lord, how are we going to get anywhere if that's the belief system? And so I went in with the complete opposite belief system and realized that the people on the team, they felt the same way too. They felt it was a lost cause. Why should they work hard? Everyone was going to possibly be let go in the company. And literally I moved that company and moved that team from 50 people to 1,500 people in three years. So, the growth was there and the opportunity was there, but people couldn't see it because they could just see the problems. And oftentimes the problem seems so big and overwhelming that we can't see past the problem to the possibility that's right in front of us. And that's the hallmark of a good leader, is that the problem is just what's right in front of them. It's just a little speed bump. And actually what they can see is through that mountain, through that speed bump, and to the other side, and what people are going to feel like, what they're going to see, how they're going to celebrate, and who's going to be at the finish line with them. And good leaders can see all of those things and then paint a picture for everyone else to see, but sprinkles it. If you go out and say, things that are so incredibly crazy, people won't jump on board, but you have to give them small little breadcrumbs and then show them, look, that breadcrumb came true. That breadcrumb came true. That one came true. Before you know it, you've got people on your side that are like, you know what, this is going somewhere. I'm going to stick with it.
All right, so I want to deep dive into this because I'm like, breadcrumbs. Okay, you got to give us at least one breadcrumb. Like, what does that look like in terms of getting? So, but this is exactly what happened in the show, right? Like, there was these little breadcrumbs that Ted, he started to kind of dish out to his players, dish out to this team. And what you don't know about the show is, he's a football coach and he goes to the UK to coach a soccer team or a football team in Europe. And he's got no past experience in that field of work, right? So here he is. He's a coach because he was hired to really destroy the team. But he doesn't destroy the team. He makes it much better. But there were things that he did, those small actions, those breadcrumbs. So Heather, I want to know from you. So what was one of those breadcrumbs that you started to lay out the path to get to, from 50 to 1,500? That actually sounds like an article or a book or something. From 50 to 1,500, what were one or two breadcrumbs that you started to lay out for people?
Well, just like Ted Lasso had the lexicon of believe, my lexicon was imagine. And so I would say to the team, imagine when, not imagine if, imagine when, and then fill in the blanks. So you can fill that in with whatever. Imagine when we were the top performing team. Imagine when people are looking at us going, what is going on over there? Imagine when we are cohesive as a team and knocking off these milestones that no other team has ever done before. So this lexicon of, and the word imagine was something that was used all the time, because then it wasn't Heather's vision. I was inviting the team to actually imagine it with me, but their own version. So however far their belief systems could imagine, that's where they would go. And then what I would do is say, what did you see when you imagined that? What did you feel when you imagined that? So I'm actually inviting the team to activate what winning feels like. And they had no idea what winning felt like, but they started to let that in a little bit. And so that word imagine when, and it's really, really important that the language is is imagine when, because if you say imagine if, then there's a choice. You can or you cannot.
Yeah.
And so the language is so, so important. And John, me and you know that language is so important from a lexicon point of view, from a culture point of view, but also from a how to get your brain and emotions connected. This is our neurolinguistic programming teaching. And that one word shift can change everything. In fact, it can give you access to someone's imagination and their emotional regulation. So they may actually have emotions that aren't directly related to what they're what you want them to imagine, but they are the roadblocks to you getting through your team. So you want those emotions to come up. So when I would say imagine when, people would put up their hand and they'd go, that's not possible, Heather, because, and they would like give me all of these reasons why it wasn't possible. And that was gold. I was like loving all of that, because if I just asked them why it's not possible, I would have just got crickets. I would have just got silence. But because I evoked an emotional response, I got that emotional response. And then I have something to work with. So this is perfect. So that would be one of the breadcrumbs, is that word imagine when.
Imagine when. And I think that's the key word. It's not so much imagine, but it's when. Right? Because that actually, as you're saying, I'm like, wow, like what a shift, right? Because if you take it to if, it's like if it happens. This is even when I'm coaching, one of the words, and actually when I'm being coached too, I have a coach that says, there's no more ifs, it's when, right? So when you accomplish this, when you finish this, when you get to this particular level. That one little word is the word that shifts it for you. Yes. And then you put an incredibly powerful word like imagine or believe in front of that. Believe when we win. Believe when we connect. Believe when we get to where we want to get to. Because it's not even, sorry, go ahead.
No, and believe in the person. So imagine when we as a team achieve X, and I believe that you're the best person to help us get there. Imagine saying that to someone. Imagine and believe together, and I believe in you. Because if I believe in you as a leader, how can you not believe in yourself? You can't fight me on that. You can't be against me. I believe in you. And actually, I believe in anybody that reports to me, because everyone brings something unique to the team. And each of those unique qualities are what makes this culture, this success. So I want everyone on the team to play to their best of their abilities.
Yeah, no, listen, I love it. We got 2 minutes, but the question is, what happens? And you kind of touched on this, but I want to deep dive just a little more in 2 minutes. When that person no longer believes, or that person no longer thinks, like it's just, you're right. There's going to be those people that are going to be resistant to that. They're resistant to the change, resistant to doing a new wave thing, a new way of something. So what would a conversation look like? In just 2 minutes. I know this is like a whole other podcast in itself, but in 2 minutes, like what would you say?
I think the word resistance is really important. We often have people that, that are leaders on teams. They're not able to change. They're not able to, and we call them resistant. We call them not able to manage through that. But a good leader will actually figure out what's going on and what are they afraid of. And you can actually ask that question and be very direct, right? As a leader, I think directness is something that people are not familiar with. And imagine someone just came up to you and said, John, I've noticed that you're not on board for X. Tell me all of the reasons why you don't think this is possible, and let's work through them together. And you're going to resist right away because you might be already in defense mode. And I'm just going to show you, I just want to know what's in your head. Let's do this together. And that is, oftentimes resistance means you are missing something and you're interpreting their behavior as resistant, but maybe they actually have a better idea. Maybe there's another way that they haven't expressed vocally. So you got to give them a voice. Now, of course, there are people that then continue to sabotage. Now, there's a difference between resistance and sabotage. Sabotage is on the negative spectrum, and those people, I'm sorry to say, will be eliminated from my team. I feel like I'm on a show, like a reality TV show, but sabotage is different than resistance.
Yes. No, listen, I'm with you 100%. Like I said, it's a whole episode, or maybe this is one of those things that we unpack in another episode, but Yeah, I know dealing with that change, you're right. Resistance is different from sabotage. As long as you're not being sabotaged, you can work with that person and that team member. So,
Mhm.
something to remember as we go into the week. Listen, this has been fantastic. So, for those that want to learn more about Ted Lasso, it's on Apple TV. I definitely invite you to go check it out. Heather, what's our big takeaway for today, for
Okay.
the start of the week and the end of the month? Because the next time we get together, we will be in November and we're kicking off a new month.
Ooh, I love this. So imagine when, and fill in your own blank. So this is a journal exercise. This shouldn't even take more than 5 minutes. So this is a 5-minute exercise you could do right now and just fill in the blanks. Imagine when I feel energized and healthy. Imagine when, and then pick one, circle one of those imagine when statements and just start to put some actions towards that. Now, think bigger. You can think, imagine when I feel something for this weekend, but you can also start to think about 2024. And John, me and you, we're putting together our program to help people get ready for 2024. We're going to make those announcements very, very soon. But imagine when you are the best version of yourself in the very near future. That's what's going to happen
Awesome.
next.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. So that wraps up this episode of the Say Yes Movement podcast. Thank you for listening in. And if you want to learn more, connect with Heather and I. If you want to learn more about some of the upcoming programs that we have as well, connect with us. We would love to chat with you. Just remember, when you shift your mindset, you shift your life. Wishing you all a great one. Talk to you all soon. Take care.